those children will remain trapped.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you. I like the way you ended the legal framework that facilitates permanence. And talking about that, we have a renowned lawyer with us this morning. So I'd also like to throw the question to you too. How do we bridge that gap between what is on paper and the actual work on the ground in our communities so that children don't fall through the cracks?
Well, thank you very much for the question and for inviting me. I'm sorry I haven't been with you over the past 2 days because I've been involved in other work. And I hear a lot of good things have gone on here. But just listening to the questions and what's going on here, the gap between policy, whether legislation or policy frameworks, and practice, the only gap I see, particularly with respect to our countries, is W-I-L-L, will. W-I-L-L, will. I'm sure most of you must have heard our minister, the deputy chief of staff yesterday, who happened to have been the gender minister of Ghana some time ago. And during her time, she increased the number of policy frameworks, and I'm not sure we didn't cross all the T's and dot the I's. The policy frameworks are there, the legislative frameworks are often there. We have the courts and the family tribunals, okay, who can make these decisions. But because there isn't intentionality on the parts of governments, on the part of government operatives, on the part of not maybe just the ministers, but those who work with them, it is very hard for government to ensure the kind of policy cohesion and coordination that will bring what we have written on paper onto the field. Because the field is what happens on the ground. That is practice.
Yes,
so I think that as much as many of us are in the business of doing the day-to-day work in different sectors trying to help children, it is important for us to also be able to put on the kind of pressure on the governments, because there are things they alone can do. Yes. As a practitioner on the ground, I cannot coordinate policy. Yes. I cannot ensure policy cohesion.
Yes.
I cannot, force judges to make certain judgments. But it comes with the vehicle of government. And so it's important for us to also look at what is our government doing to ensure that we on the ground are able to do our work better and do it in the interest of the children. And so if we don't put the pressure, especially those of us who live in this part of the world, we will come back 5 years down the line and we'll be talking about the same things.
Very true. Wow, please, let's put our hands together for the panelists. That is so true. We have to put pressure on the duty bearers, hold them accountable so that they do what they're supposed to do, and then it gives us opportunity to continue to ensure that things are working on the field. Thank you so much, ma'am. Kawa, could you lean into the conversation and just share with us?
All right, thank you very much for the opportunity. Sometimes in a panel, if you're not first to speak, it's possible for people to sing the song you want to sing. But I think in terms of bringing policy into practice, I have worked all my life with conflict-affected children, and we do a lot to prevent family separation. So one of the gaps we have encountered, in my experience, right, is the understanding of these policies by the various stakeholders, the duty bearers, and even we, the partners. Do we really understand what these policies are saying? That is the big question. So sometimes you will see partners going into alternative care without even involving the government. They place children directly under alternative care because they don't understand this policy. So how do we bridge this gap? Is to build their capacity to understand the nitty-gritty of these policies. And then our colleague here talked about the legal framework. How do we hold everyone accountable? It's when we have this legal framework in place, then it will really help us to bridge this gap. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kawa. Please put your hands together for her. We'll go back to you, Reverend Oyediji, and we're talking about the West African regions. So yesterday, I think the minister mentioned, and I think I reiterated that this morning, about the value of advocacy to the finance minister for budget allocations and for funding, even for social protection programs for children. So what do you think is the most effective way that we can help West African governments and civil society organizations fund family-based care sustainably without relying heavily on foreign grants?
Thank you. I think the best help will be self-help in life. Over-dependence on foreign grants as another problem. We practitioner CSO, they feel that the grant must be coming. Grant must be coming. And when grant is not coming, they kill the project, they kill the idea. The idea dies. The vision dies because there's no continuity in supply. And I found out that most funders, they want activities which is usually done at the beginning. When you get to the middle and the fund is not coming again, they retire to their coaches. So the biggest problem we are having is to encourage to develop pattern. We CSO and whatever develop a self-sustaining pattern. Look for other means without depending on foreign donors or grantors to execute a problem. But even then, there's also the issue of distrust. And it's the biggest issue of our time. There's charity fatigue now. Why? Because trust has been assassinated.
So is this trust between the donors or internally?
Yeah, it's a problem. So, and there's a withdrawal of effort by foreign donors now. If you go through, I was reading the aircraft yesterday, a medical report, and says that after United Nations grant, I mean all those, the people begin to withdraw, and they will say the UNICEF assistance and help in provision of drug and health care as before now help survival rate of infant to 40%. But now with the gradual reduction in grants, that's having a regression coefficient on the performance, and the children are getting back to risk environment. Risk situation where they could not sustain drugs or buy anything for them. The government depend on grants to do what they do. The social welfare budget seems to be lowest, particularly in countries like Africa, but even Nigeria. Social welfare budget is low. And we say these children belong to government, but there's no, when we were in school, we did demand and supply together. We never isolated one. But in our operation here, it's demand without supply.
So what's the local solution, sir?
So we are saying the government should come up one. Those countries that are making it, we were sent to Kenya to go and see how they are surviving. Yes, and I find out that there's a little helpline from government for foster care families. But in some countries, including our own, there's nothing like that. So we continue to look at it. Either we ourselves begin to look for backup, investment, businesses we can use as a supplement. Over depending or depending totally on grants is always loaded with fatalities, with a very tragic situation, and many get out, many pull out, many are not active again because the fund they started with is not there again. So I think there should be a plan and a way of looking into what you can do. Maybe apart from government, we could put pressure on them from today to tomorrow. In fact, they are allergic to pressure. Some governments are allergic to pressures.
I think our mother here mentioned will. She talked about political will too. So we think those are some areas that we need.
I think too, we should not fold our hands. In community where we belong to, let's participate fully and carry the community along. Now, your influence will increase when you establish a good relationship within your community. They are calling for community development leaders. You behave as if they are not talking to you. They are doing election into House of Assembly. We believe that they are not talking to us. Now, we will represent our interests when we withdraw from governance. And I think we should consider, for the purpose of the children, entering into politics of our land so that we can have voice for our children. What those who cannot achieve, we can achieve by telling them in the House of Assembly. If you have representative in the Senate, in House of Assembly, we will not be talking like this. He will represent us properly because he's a member of our constituency. So let's get people out of constituency to join the politics. And,
please put your hands together for Reverend. Yes. We need to join politics as well so that, however, we've had instances where people have joined politics and they did the exact opposite of what we thought they would do.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much, sir. Those are very, very salient points. Could you lean into the conversation, Mrs.?
Well, funding is always a sticky point, and
Yes,
I have a few ideas, but it's work. So, for example, finding an interest in tracking government budgets, it's work. Sometimes our ministries may have funding, but they don't have enough. But even the enough, we don't know what exactly they are applying it to. And sometimes when you get in there, it will surprise you what money goes where. And the only ways in which you can actually get some accountability is to be interested in what is going where when the money is given. And you might find that we may free up some funds directed towards children's work, family-based care, and so on, if only we cared to look inside the pot.
Thank you.
So that's one way.
Thank you, ma'am.
Another way is when we're able to build networks, particularly as NGOs, CSOs, faith-based organizations, with business. But you don't just build a network with them, and I don't mean any kind of business. I mean, we must be discerning also, but then you need to also sensitize the private sector to these issues because it doesn't come naturally to them. Many people in this room are fueled by passion, not profit. Okay, so to be able to get a business person interested in what you do, you need to really conscientize them. That is work.
Yes.
And when we're able to do that, then we're able to draw in some private sector funding into the kind of works we do. And it's possible, but it's work. Another thing that I think is critical is the lessening the territoriality. Okay, there's too much work to do to compete. And
Please put your hands together.
Yes,
That's a very important.
too much work in this sector.
In
You
this
know,
region.
we're looking at family-based care. There's even just too much work to get to the place where you are looking at survival, development, participation, and protection of children. That's huge, even taking the sector alone. And so if we among ourselves lessen the territoriality and enhanced networking and coalition building, networking, and so on, you may find that it's like a broken egg. When you break the egg and you try to put it together, one jagged edge goes into the other. You may find that you are able to do this better, and I'm able to do this better with the resources we have. And so it makes it more practical to maybe reach to a community in which you have other like-minded organizations doing something you don't necessarily have to go and do, but apply your money elsewhere. So a lot more enhancement of our working together
Collaboration.
would help, yes, lessen the and then the final word on this is also to look within ourselves. Now, when Ghana became lower middle income country, a lot of donors went away. They went into areas where there's conflict and so on and so forth. Some of us were very hard hit, but it taught us a lesson. And I told myself and the organization that I had that we are going to do without donor funding, God will take care of us. And I'm sitting here wearing this nice dress. Of course, my husband bought it.
Beautiful. I love the dress.
But the work is going on. We cut, the budget was already cut, so I can't even say we cut our budget. It was already cut. For 5 years, I didn't have even an allowance.
Wow.
But I had to do the work because there are children whose lives are on the line.
Yes, ma'am.
We cut down a lot. We rearranged ourselves, and then we decided to ask friends, family, people like you and I, give us 50 Ghana cedis every month if you can. 20 Ghana cedis every month if you can. 1,000 Ghana. That's the way we have existed from 2016 till 2026. I can't say that we have been funded by one outside donor organization or inside donor organization. 10 years.
Friends and family.
And we are still doing the work.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm just saying sometimes you need to, I'm not saying the money is not needed, but if we look inside ourselves and cut down staff and rearrange, use more volunteers and all of those things that we can do, and then go crowdfunding,
Yes,
and so on and so forth. Maybe these are some of the alternatives we can, so we don't give up.
Thank you so much. Wow, amazing. The power of collaboration, strategic thinking, those are some of the points that we're culling from what you're saying. And I think it just reminds us again that local funding is possible. Because the question initially was relying heavily on foreign grants, which means that we would still need some help. We all do, we will continue to, but relying heavily on donor funding is something we need to rethink, and then we need to look at strategies for local funding. Thank you so much, ma'am, for that. Finally, this is for every one of you. If you were the minister in Nigeria's Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, right? Or if you could force the Minister of Social Protection or the Minister of Women Affairs to take just one immediate action to accelerate family-based care, what would it be? Just one action for one minister.
Okay,
Minister of Women Affairs in Nigeria, since you're from Nigeria.
Okay, what I would do is to include a budget line for family care reform.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes,
Okay.
Mrs.
What will I do? Call the food soldiers. Call all of us together. Let's know who is doing what where and how we can, organize ourselves to do this better than we have done.
Fantastic. I think that's something that, was it Vidivi or Steven that talked about mapping networks. Somebody talked about mapping networks, and I wrote it up because I thought that was very, very important. Because once you map the networks, you know what everybody is doing, and you know how important it is. Stedman, your one immediate action.
Just before I say the action, I just want to say there's just so much wisdom in your contribution on funding. Really valued and appreciated those points. I would perhaps say that one of the areas I'd like to see much more of a priority is around large-scale family recruitment. I believe that there are so many families, ordinary families out there with love in their hearts, and have the antidote for many children out there who really need a family. And I tend to find that the family recruitment campaigns are very short and muted, and we're not reaching and calling upon those people who have so much more to give, and for whom those children in institutions could be a blessing to. And we were just in a church engagement session, and I think the churches and faith institutions have so much to offer, and I think we all need a collective effort to call up those soldiers of love, as I call them, to step forward and love on and look after our children?
Well, thank you. I love that phrase, soldiers of love. So a lot more advocacy to faith organizations, religious leaders, religious bodies, and collective action by communities. Thank you so much. Finally, sir, what would that be one action that you would
If I become
force
the minister
to
I will
implement?
press for increase in the budget for social welfare. I will press for transparent and sincere disbursements to make sure it is what they are meant for are achieved.
Yes, sir.
I will remove bureaucracy and bring in stakeholder participation in my government to make sure we run it together.
Please put your hands together for Reverend. Please, how many people are voting for Reverend? Because I think that's the next president. All right. Because we need you in there right now to help us achieve. Thank you so much. Thank you. I've learned so much just from this panel, and I'm sure you have too. It's been so engaging and so enlightening. Before we leave, we would like to take maybe 3 questions from you so that our panelists would help us with those questions, and then we'll take it from there. Yes, we have one hand there, right there.
Thank you all very much for this enlightenment. God bless you. But I have 1 or 2 questions. Let me start with
Just
one.
Just one from you.
Okay.
3 people.
We all agree that family-based care is the best. And transitioning is very important. We've heard of 1 or 2 homes that have transited. But I have a concerning question. The concerning question is, do we have a policy in place to guide us to where these children are going? I'm talking about background check. You don't want to take a child from a setting and place the child in a home where you are not too sure. You don't want to place you have a pedophile or someone that doesn't have a good character. Do we have a policy like that in place? That is my major concern. Thank you.
So, you're from Nigeria, so I'll allow.
One of the tragedies of our work in residential care, like in my country, they don't allow us to see through. Once a child is adopted or taken out of the home, positional monitoring is not allowed because they believe that it can be abused by you demanding from those who have taken the children, so they cover them. Now, no matter once they take the child, different government have their own law. In Nigeria today, it is difficult because they say it's social work assignment to do the following, and it is their discretion to report back to you or not to report. They say these are government children by legality, and you have finished your own job by giving them to government and government doing the placement. And whatever happens after the placement is not your business again. It's one of those things we are fighting in my country to be changed. The homeowners, practitioners, stakeholders should see through. When you can see through and see the welfare and the betterment of those children, encouragement will come to push more children towards that channel. But when we are screened from what goes on after they leave the home, there's a problem. And that's why there's a reluctance in silent places in Nigeria today towards leading those children for adoption. If the government will be transparent enough and collaborative enough to let us see what happens, and when we see good performance result from these children, we will trust government more, we'll trust those who are taking them, and we'll give them more children to take away. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes.
Yes, so in contribution to that, because I'm from Nigeria, we have the Child Rights Act, while in some states is child protection law, and then Nigeria recently developed the alternative care guideline that every partner is expected, you understand, to follow, and even the government, to ensure that these children we are placing under alternative care are safe. And I think that one of the challenges we had is a learning. In one of the states, I implemented a project, the follow-up. There is an issue with that from the of the government. So what did we do? We conducted a desk review to even understand if the government really understand their roles and responsibility when it comes to placing children under alternative care. Then we didn't have the guideline in Nigeria. So as an organization, we did that assessment, and we understood that a lot of partners, you understand, the government are really not aware of some of these things. So we started the procedure of developing a state-based alternative care, and then we had the national was developed, so we had to adopt the national. So what we are currently trying to do is to help partners understand these processes, and then whatever we're talking here, we must work with the government because of sustainability. They are the sole owners of this policy, so we have to work with them. So there is policy in place to ensure that these children are safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just remember that we have our government here in the room. So, and he is the director of the Alternative Care Guidelines in Nigeria. Please put your hands together for Dr. Samuel Epifa. He will speak to this question. Yes.
Okay. You see, I'm sorry, but ignorance is not an excuse, right? To anything you do. There is, in the National Alternative Care Guideline, there is what we call you check. You have the right to check. There is what we call, there is a chapter on gatekeeping. In the gatekeeping area, even the home operators, if you are a social worker, manager, whatever, you are part of the gatekeepers. We're even trying to bring it to school level, where the social worker, the counselors are able to check. This child that we kept here, the child always comes to school late. It's a trigger, isn't it? So you can report. This child we took to family A, he comes to school very late. And then the government will step in to do what they need to do. The challenge we are having now is to let the guideline go around and let all of us learn, read it. They say in Africa there is a problem with Africans. And what is that problem? Reading. We don't read. So in that gatekeeping, everybody have work to do there. You don't just release a child just for releasing sake. If you release that child to a particular place, you have the right to also complain. If you notice, the only problem is adoption is not an alternative care. Adoption is not. But fostering, you can, this child that we take here, we kept here, this is not working, that is not working, and the government can take that child away from you. So there is something. Thank you.
Please put your hands together for the government. The government has spoken, but based on what he said, I think that, and I think it was during the session on the Global Charter, I think she mentioned something. She talked about civil society organizations understanding the processes, the legal framework, the policy, and educating ourselves. And I think that's what he's also talking about, building capacity, like you said, because if we build our capacity, it means that we also, I think somebody once told me, I think he was a judge, he said you don't have to be a lawyer to know what is in the law. As long as you can read it, and then you'll be able to at least understand what is in there. So what he's saying is there's a policy. Each one of us should go through the policies, read the policies, know the law, the legal framework in your countries, so that as a practitioner, you have understanding. I mean, you might not be able to understand it, understand some terms and all of that, but you can always get someone to explain. But just basic knowledge about the legal framework, every single person has access access to those also. Please, I think it's important for us to educate ourselves. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm a worker from Ghana. I just wanted to find out, as practitioners, civil society practitioners, what is the biggest challenge with regards to the care reform initiative, working with the state institutions? What is the biggest challenge?
Mrs. Jamina, I think Ghana, he said he's specific to Ghana, so if you can help us.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it kind of bumps into the last one. The law, the policy frameworks, and getting to know what's in there. But as our president, because we are going to vote for him, was sharing with me, you may have a situation where even civil society practitioners know what they're expected to do. But if the government officials do not want to move, yes, if they want to resist you, they will resist you. And sometimes it's not even those at the national level.
Yes, ma'am.
It is those at the decentralized levels. So maybe Director for Alternative Based Care, I don't know what it is like because Nigeria is a federal state. But here in Ghana, you have the National Social Welfare operating at the national level at the Ministry of Gender. Then there is the decentralized social welfare under the local, the local government ministry. And sometimes they don't talk to each other. So if you have issues around care reform and you raise it at the local level and they don't act and you go up, the local level will tell you they can't come and give us instructions over here. And that's what sometimes happens. You are telling them what is in the law and in the policy. I have a right to gatekeep. And they can tell you that this is their business. I heard it not too long ago. You are trying to come into our business. You are civil society. We are supposed to guide you. So you do have situations like that. But we can't give up. For me, in this country, the care reform hasn't even started because of the broader national issues that is buried under. Okay, things are happening, but it hasn't even started with a lot of intentionality and so on. But a lot of the bottlenecks are also coming from the government practitioners. Unfortunately, I'm not here to bash the government, but I've been in this for so long. There are some very, very, very good people.
Yes, ma'am.
But
yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Please put your hands together and celebrate the panelists. Thank you, Mr. Noble. Thank you, Reverend. Thank you, our mommy. I'm trying to, Jamina. Jamina. All right. Thank you so much, and thank you, Kawa. Please, thank you. It was great having you here. We're grateful. Thank you.
Please let's give them a round of applause for a wonderful, impactful, and intelligent conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you. Without wasting much time, we're going to take another panel and then break for lunch. So, quickly, are you tired? Should we go for lunch? Okay, so let's check if lunch is ready. Let's check. Okay, so lunch is not ready. We're going to take one interesting panel. One interesting panel before we go for lunch. But, all right. Please let's give ourselves a round of applause for just sitting. Celebrate yourselves, please. Give yourselves a round of applause. All right, taking us through this panel is Mrs. Susanna Afuto, the lead facilitator for Family-Based Alliance, FABCA, and also the country organizing coordinator for this year's Waacs 2026. Please, with a round of applause, let's welcome them for their panel session, Building Effective and Culturally Grounded Legal Pathways for Kinship Care, Foster Care, and Adoption. Please, let's give her a round of applause as she comes up stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just last week, Thursday, I was in a panel that had to come on just before lunch, and it's happening again. So just bear with me and my panelists. So we have Isaac Ejay also on this panel. Isaac, if you can kindly come upstage for us. So Isaac is a contractor with SFAC, Strengthening Families and Children. We also have on this panel Benedicta Akita, Esquire. A round of applause for Benedicta, please. Yesterday, when Honorable Nana Oye Bampo Ado was making her presentation, she referred a few times. Benedicta used to be her legal research assistant and all of that, working in the same office some years ago. And then we also have, so let me introduce her properly. She's a lawyer. She's a senior lawyer. She's with Okujetu and Associates. And she's a part of the Family-Based Care Alliance team. We also have on this panel, Madame Mary Vito. Madame Mary Vito. Mary, if you are in the crowd, yes, a round of applause for Mary, please. Mary is a senior social development officer with the Central Adoptions Authority of Ghana. And last but certainly not the least of at all, we have High Chief Uzoma. High Chief Uzoma. That's the best I can do. I don't want to crucify your name, sir. He is the Vice President for Asohon Southern Region. A round of applause. And so we just want to look very briefly at the topic that has been given to us, which is building effective and culturally grounded legal pathways for kinship care, foster care, and adoption. So to start us off will be Madame Mary. I just want her to run us very quickly. Some of us here are social workers, but some of us here are very new to this industry. And so I want her to just set the stage for us very quickly. What is kinship care? What is adoptions? What is foster care?
Hello. Thank you very much. So I start with the kinship care. Kinship care already, there are informal systems that in African societies we have created to take care of children where the need arises. So sometimes informally you have an auntie, an uncle, a sister or a brother who comes in to give care to a child when a situation of vulnerability has been identified. These are not usually structured. It is an informal arrangement from the family based on a particular situation after they have assessed the capability of that kin. Talking about adoption, that comes more in a legal way. So it says that adoption is a social legal process that places, it takes it takes the parental responsibility from the birth parent and giving to an adoptive parent. It means that at that point, the responsibility to be a parent as a birth one or a biological parent, that's right, you have transferred it to the next person who wishes to adopt a child who is in need of care and protection. And so, because we are talking of legalities, it goes with the Children's Act 1998, Act 560. It also goes with processes in the Amendment Act 2016, Act 937. Also, it has to do with the Adoption Regulations 2018, LI 2360. All these instruments come into play to be able to define the processes under which a child is defined. It means that no child is adopted until that child has gone through a legally defined process that is recognized by the state. Then there's no adoption. So if you found a child outside, maybe on the street, in the bush, or somewhere, you take that child home, probably because you have the resources and you think you have adopted, or you pick the child from a residential home, be it private or state. You take that child home and thinks you have adopted that child. I'm sorry, you will be making a mistake. And if you are not sure, the law might be caught up with you. So adoption is a more permanent situation that allows children to be placed in a family setting so that that child is provided care and protection. In terms of foster care, that is a more temporal situation. So a vulnerability of a child is assessed. And because of the circumstances surrounding that vulnerability, you are only defining a period for the stay of that child with a family or a person you feel the state deems responsible to keep that child with until such a time that it becomes necessary to remove that child from that state into a permanent situation.
Great, fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Mary. I'd like to ask Benedicta, where do you think current legal frameworks for kinship care, foster care, and adoptions align with cultural practices in the communities, and where do you think they clash?
All right, thank you, Susan. Like she had already laid the foundation with kinship care in informal settings. So we have so many people who were raised by an uncle, an aunt, a relative, and so that aligns with what the Act provides. It provides for an opportunity for relatives to take care of other relatives who are in a vulnerable situation. And that's where we believe they align. Another aspect too is that usually when we have uncles raising maybe their nephews or aunties raising their nieces, they may put them in some form of training, be it formal or informal training, or they'll provide them with educational opportunities. That is also provided for under the Act. Children have a right to education, so they align. Places where we'll find a clash would be practices that are inimical to the total development of the child. So for instance, when it comes to punishment, we find that culturally some societies still apply corporal punishments instead of punishments that would reinforce behavioral change, such as encouraging the child through reinforcements, etc. They would apply corporal punishment. That is where the law would clash, because the law prohibits corporal punishment. And then sometimes you find that some of the children who live with relatives, they are denied right to education. They would be inundated with household chores. Some are taken through exploitative labor, etc. And they do not get to realize their full potential. They don't have the chance to enjoy the rights that are enshrined under the Constitution, the Children's Act for Children. So I think that's where we'll have some clash.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Benedicta. So our High Chief, Uzoma, can you help us? How do we conscientize society to accept adoption as a viable alternative? Conscientize. How do we work on people's minds so that they can accept adoption? Because I know that in Africa, somehow we are still struggling. I don't know about Nigeria, but I know that in Ghana, somehow we are still struggling with it. Because sometimes you can see that somebody may be trying to have a child and it hasn't been successful yet. And in spite of that, when you suggest adoption, there's always a pushback. There is, I don't want to adopt. How do we work? What do you think we can do in Africa to come around that problem?
Thank you very much. We Africans, we have culture, tradition. And one of the basic problem of we Africans is religion. Religion plays an important role. Now, in terms of this type of adoption you're talking about, like kinship, kinship has been existing. Even now, many of us here are practicing kinship without knowing. Are you getting me? It saves. Now, the problem we are having with this adoption is that this particular adoption that becomes legally, that was brought to us, I will not use the word imposed to us. Are you getting me? We now monetize it. That is what brought in child trafficking. I will thank BEB. BEB has brought in a process that can now control that particular legal framework that was imposed or brought to us. Are you getting me? Now, orphanage home was also brought to us. Thank God is now trying to phase away. And like what you're saying, orphanage home is the problem we are still having till now. That's why all effort that is being made to make sure that we will now go back to family care system, where that kinship, are you getting me, will come back directly or indirectly, no matter who is taking care. Now, and it will directly stop child trafficking. But it won't. Majority of us here, sorry to say this, please, I don't want to accuse you. Majority of us here are now still practicing orphanage home. And it is slavery. Orphanage home is slavery, where you gather children, keep them in a particular place. When somebody comes for birthday, you bring them out, they will start clapping and singing for that person for making money. Why your own child? Why your own child is moving around, interacting with people? Why this one there, you are making this one at the end of the day will not be bold enough to face the society. And you are not giving that person the necessary training. That one is in the orphanage home, caged, clapping hand to receive gifts and money for you to use to now wear gold and this thing for yourself. So that is the problem we are having. If we are serious, if all of us here are serious, all we need to do is to face out orphanage home immediately. Let me use my area for example. We don't practice orphanage home. We don't practice it. It's against the law, caging those children. Okay, do you know that these children, they will stay there overgrown by age. They don't have a father. When the operator, the director dies, the children of the operator will not accept them. They don't have a home. They don't have any place to call their village. They don't have anywhere to go to celebrate cultural one thing or the other as their own village. They are not being accepted. Even if they have the money, they cannot be a king in anywhere. Why they have the qualities to be a king, but you cannot, because they will not accept you. You are not from there. Are you getting me? But if it is proper adoption that was done, like if we start practicing this family care, that means adoption will be something that will be done when that child does not even know where he or she comes from. That's why it is better to encourage family care than.
All right, thank you very much. I can see this question is interesting. My panelist wants to add on to it. Let me first give it to Mary because she's with the Central Adoptions Authority.
Yes, I appreciate your concern, but I do also want to say that it's because of some of the lapses, the gaps in kinship care. That is why adoption comes in to strengthen the system. So I can still take care of my niece, my nephew. But what the law is requiring is that let's do it in a way that we can protect the best interests of this child. You do not take this child to your home and with the intention that you are going to educate this child, provide the best of opportunities. And yet, we see this child being exploited. Instead of the child going to school and learning to become a responsible person, sometimes people do use them as domestic servants. So, even though in adoption, there's still relative adoption or kinship care, as we may put it, but the law strengthens the processes so that it comes in to say that, yes, you are capable of taking care of this child, but let's look at your background. If indeed you are one that can protect the best interests of this child, so we check on your criminal background. You go to the hospital, we are assessing your health status and all that. Eventually, we are looking at your financial resources and all there is. In addition to that, there is always a guardian nominee, such that if, as an adoptive parent, I have come in to say that I want to adopt my niece or my nephew formally, means I'm going through the processes, it will end up in the court. So the state is aware that I'm undertaking this decision. If at a point in time something happens, the state knows that there is an alternative parent, which is the guardian nominee, that steps in the shoes of this prospective applicant or the relative, as you have it, taking care of this child. So all other rights that any child enjoys under the constitution of this state, equally, a child that is adopted in this circumstance enjoys the same. So rather, yes, we are trying to reduce children in orphanages. We are encouraging kinship care. The encouragement we are giving is that let's allow our family members to take care of other children that, because of vulnerability, they do not have their birth parents or biological parents be in a position to take care of them. However, let's provide the steps, the processes, let's build the systems that can protect these children from any form of exploitation.
Thank you for that. I don't think we want to belabor the point.
Excuse me.
No,
what she's saying, listen, orphanage home is different care from a foster care. Are you getting me?
Yes.
Now, this particular children you are talking about, that is why we need social workers who will be trained as a caregiver, who will take care of these children as a foster care. Foster care is not a permanent destination other than adoption. Now, you don't keep a child who do not have a father and a mother in a home for a very long time. There's a stage that child will reach. If you want to foster her or adopt her to any place, him or her, she will refuse because she's enjoying the negative aspect of the orphanage home, which will not benefit him in future.
All right. Okay, Chief. Thank you so much. I think Benedicta wants to have a take on that question as well. Benedicta.
So the question is, how do we encourage couples to adopt?
Yeah.
I think first of all, we need to let them understand the permanency of it, that it's extinguishing the rights of the biological parents. It's permanent. The child becomes yours. The child can bear your name, can inherit from you and all that. And then also we have to assure them of the privacy of the process, because under our law, when someone goes to disclose to another person that, hey, you are adopted, you are not a biological child, the law... Hello? Yes, so I'm saying that you need to assure the couple of the privacy of the whole process, that nobody is going to tell other people that a child has been adopted. And under our laws, you will face criminal prosecution if you go telling other people that a child has been adopted and is not a biological child. So I think those are some of the ways that you can encourage people to adopt, not to believe it.
All right. Thank you very much, Benedicta. Isaac. Isaac, would you also tell us what it takes to formalize